Democrats turned their backs on men and men returned the favor. That's right. I just did a video on how men believe that there's no masculine men in the Democrat Party. And then I came across this article that talks about and goes a little bit into why that is. Again, they attack masculinity, they attack men, and then you expect men to support you. It makes no sense to me. And now they're trying to veer back a little bit and try to bring the men back, or try to study and try to figure out why men no longer want to be Democrats. I mean, it's pretty obvious. You don't have to spend $20 million to figure that out. All you have to do is just stop bringing all of this, stop putting down men that want to be men. Stop believing that masculinity or talking about masculinity being toxic and things like that. And maybe some men would support you, but I think they're done. They're lost. Like, I don't think men are going to end up coming back to the Democrat Party, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to see what this survey has to say about it. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from Hot Air, and they report that last week, Pew published a party affiliation fact sheet based on a big annual survey it does every year. What the fact sheet shows this year will not be a surprise to anyone who pays attention to politics. Men, especially young men, have stepped away from the Democratic Party. Said, quote, "Today Americans are about evenly split between the two parties. 46% identify with or lean to the Republican Party, and 45% identify with or lean towards the Democratic Party. The balance of partisanship is similar to 2024, but the current near even division marks a shift from the affiliation advantage the Democratic Party enjoyed a few years ago. Men in all age groups are now more likely to align with the Republican Party than the Democratic Party. And consistent with the overall gender gap, women in all age groups are less Republican than men of the same age. The question of interest to Democrats is why? The Washington Post published a story today taking a stab at answering that. Let's hear what the Washington Post has to say about it. Young men in swing states say the Democratic Party abandoned them, leaving them feeling helpless in providing for their families as prices rose and jobs evaporated. They felt no sympathy for the left, who they say brushed away their legitimate economic woes by citing their male privilege. So yeah, it's you're a man, you shouldn't have to worry about those things. You got privilege in that. They acknowledge historical patriarchy, but assert that doesn't make them invincible in a job market where graduate unemployment is concentrated among men. Quote, "The belief has been that men have it easier in the labor market, and that's been true to a large extent. But that notion is at odds with the reality right now. For many young men, as manufacturing gives way to the information age," said Joshua Doss, senior research manager at HIT Strategies. They talk about how they're really watching the economy erode the types of jobs that they were told worked for them. While men increasingly feel under the gun, the response from Democrats have been a barely concealed sneer. Quote, there is complete misconception from Democrats and especially from progressives about young men moving away from the party, and takes from it was all because of inflation to the guys that support Trump are incels and sexists, Holt said. It's just a really terrible stereotype that has backlash effect on Democrats. True, this is what I've been saying. You're sexist, you're an incel, toxic masculinity, all these other things. The Post gives Barack Obama credit for being one of the few Democrats who seems to grasp that there is a problem. But he's losing people, though. He's losing people. Like I just talked about it in the past video. Barack Obama came out talking about every boy needs a young needs needs a gay sassy mentor. Like, so he's I think he's out of the picture now. This probably happened before Obama. These the research stuff might have happened before Obama made that statement. But quote, we don't think about boys and just assume they're gonna be okay because they've been running the world and they've got all the advantages relative to girls, and all of which has historically been true in all kinds of ways. The former president said, we've made that mistake sometimes in terms of our rhetoric, where it's like we're constantly talking about what's wrong with the boys instead of what's right with them. I do agree with that statement, but then he goes off and talks about having a sassy mentor. Like, I don't, he lost a lot of people on that. He lost a lot of people on that, especially people within the black community. They're like, what? A lot of them finally figured out what Barack Obama really is. He showed his true colors. Something I've been talking about with Obama for years now. They used to call him Bathhouse Barry out in Chicago, where he used to visit the bathhouses, and he really was attracted to older white men and all of that stuff. And he even admitted it in his own memoirs that he liked older white men. It's crazy. But my favorite part of the article is the response from a focus group participant who said, quote, I think being a masculine leader is like outlawed in the Democratic Party right now. Everything the Democrat Party says about men these days is about how they are a problem. They are the reason for Me Too and largely for Black Lives Matter. They are mansplainers and manspreaders. They are a problem at work for women colleagues and don't do enough at home for their wives. They are toxic and incels and violent, etc. These are the things they've been saying about men over the past 10 years now. It's a pretty negative picture the left has built with very little in terms of positive qualities worthy of praise or emulations. Men have turned on Democrats because Democrats have turned on men. Turning that around is going to take quite a while, and it starts with finding something positive to say about men as a group that won't set off the other constituencies that make up the Democrat Party, and that's the hard part. There's no way you can't bring those two things together because their party as a whole now think men are toxic altogether. Best of luck with that. I struggle to think of a single positive thing they could say that wouldn't anger some activist somewhere. That's what I was just alluding to. Because they got what they call it big tent. They got such a big tent that they're going to end up offending someone at some point. And that's what's wrong with the Democratic Party. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.